Okay, so I want to start with a new update about the trigger with my son. Samuel has been testing me a lot about boundaries. He's 5 years old and he's checking boundaries and wanting more independence. Um, he's still testing. It's not easy, but what changed is me. For some reason, and I don't know, I'm not sure what it is, but since I spoke to him about that, I'm triggered by it, that I see a pattern repeating between the generations, and that I don't want this to be our relationship. Ever since I said that, I'm no longer triggered, which is awesome. I mean, I can get annoyed, but I don't get upset anymore. I don't get angry. I don't yell. And I'm more going towards empathy. I really try to say, like, what I say is like, oh, I see that you had a really hard day. Is there something you're not sharing with me? Is that the reason why you're trying to fight with me? Or, I was just like, oh, you had a really long day, you must be tired. I'm more going towards empathy. And I tried to really look him in the eye and ask him, like, do you notice this, that you're continuing, even though I'm asking you not to? Is there a reason why you're doing that? Because I really believe we can communicate and we don't have to resort to threatening and yelling and fighting. And I don't want to go to that direction because it makes me very sad. And usually not in the first time I ask him that, but like on the third time, he will tell me this and this happened. Like yesterday, he shared that somebody offended him in his kindergarten, and it made him very upset. And he asked me to talk to the kindergarten teacher about it. And after he told me about it, then he stopped fighting with me. So I do believe that empathy is the best policy. I do see a difference since I'm being more empathic. I'm less drained, and he feels more connected to me. But it is exhausting. I do get to a point that for a few nights I didn't have dinner. And because the basic things are not happening. Because I need to convince him to do the basic things. And I talk to him in length. And it takes time for me that instead of my dinner. So there is a price to it. But it's not the price of our relationship. And I'm no longer upset. I'm not losing my balance. So something happened with that honesty, with telling him what's going on, I think, and that and the sharing with him that I believe that was triggered and repeating something between the generations. Something happened, something shifted within me, and that's good enough for me. And so that's an update on that. Now, today I want to talk about the typecast that some of you might have as an abusive parent or brother or sister, because I know a lot of brothers and sisters can also be very abusive. I studied psychology to try to understand what my mother was. Now, it's not relevant to you if your abuser has some addiction like alcohol or narcotics, then it has nothing to do with you. But if your abuser was not addicted to narcotics, then this might be relevant. Because my mom didn't even smoke a cigarette, so she didn't drink, but she was very abusive. So I studied psychology to try to understand: was she crazy? What was she? What was that thing that made her act like that? And I thought I was special. I thought that she was special. I thought that my case was special. But it was very interesting that when I started volunteering in a hotline, a lot of people who were mentally ill shared with me their abuse story. And when they described me the abuser, it was the same as if they were describing my mom. And that's why I decided to share this with you, because I was shocked. I was shocked because I thought I was special till that time, and she was, in our case, was special, and then I realized it's something that repeats itself. So that's why I want to put it out there. So to describe my mom, she knew to hide what was going on in the house. You know, with isolation, she isolated me from friends and family, and even in recess, I couldn't engage. I had to come home to take care of her, so I didn't have engagement time, with social engagement time. So isolation is classic for an abuser. But even if, like, when I was little, when I was 5.5 years old, I asked for help. I told people in my uncle's workplace that I'm beaten up, that I'm abused, and what they did at that time. So listen, I'm almost 40. It was like 1990s, 1990, like around 1990. There was not so much awareness like today about abuse. So they asked her, "Are you abusing her? You know that she said that you're abusing her." And obviously she said no. But not only did she say no, she said, like, no, she went for this difficult divorce, and her father was abusive, and I'm a psychologist, I'm helping her heal. She was not a psychologist. She took a few courses in psychology, but she was not a psychologist. And obviously, they believed her. And whenever, it was another time I asked for help when I was a little bit older, and again, the same thing. Like, she said that I'm having a hard time because of how I grew up in my early years, but she's the one taking care of me, and she's helping me heal from those traumas, and I'm very traumatized from my father. And always people asked her, and always people believed her. But not only that, one time the police came when I was a teenager, and she turned it as if I was crazy and I was the abusive one. I think the policeman knew I wasn't, but he didn't want to interfere. He just looked at me in a sad way, but he didn't do anything. But the thing that repeats itself, and that's what also people describe me in the hotline, that parent or abuser was in society. He knew how to behave. He was actually very well liked. And my mom was the same. When she was in a party, she was the life of the party. She would talk and give advice to everybody, and people loved to talk to her. And she was very happy all of a sudden. She'd be dancing and having fun. And it's very dichotomic to how she was in the house, where she was never smile. She was always angry. She was always, more than angry, she was bitter. But outside, in social circumstances, she was completely different. And people saw her as very fun and engaging, and that she gave them good advice on sometimes on taking supplements, like herbal supplements and stuff. So the same was described to me in the hotline by different people. They told me, "Oh, my father worked in the police, and everybody admired him, but in the house it was completely different. And every time I asked for help, people he managed to turn it in such a way that he made everybody think that I'm the crazy one and he's okay. And so this is pretty much the pattern. A person that knows how to behave outside in social circumstances. He knows to hide what he does at home. He has two faces, two different faces. And so that's what I learned from my BA in psychology. That's not crazy. Crazy is a person that doesn't understand reality, like doesn't have a good grasp on reality. That's why he can pee in the middle of the street or take off his clothes. Or one time I have a friend like this. She told me, I don't know what I'm doing, but people tell me that I'm scaring them, that I'm losing control, but I have no idea what I'm doing, and that's the definition of crazy. A crazy person will not have two faces. He will be not in touch with what needs to be in society and what needs to be elsewhere. He will be he will not be able to hide that behavior. He will just be all over the place and embarrassing himself in social circumstances as well. So no, not crazy. What I learned that my mom had, of course I don't have a master's in psychology, and I'm not equipped to diagnose, but as a person who went through this and has some learning, a BA still in psychology, I can tell you that from my understanding, and my understanding alone, that my mom had narcissistic personality disorder, which means a personality disorder means that there's something that didn't form correctly in the personality, in the moral compass sometimes. It's something that forms improperly, but it has nothing to do with being crazy. So they know what is socially accepted. They know the rules, and that's why they can play on it. So she was narcissistic. She had actually 7 traits of narcissism out of the 9. 9 traits of narcissism is a killer, a person who kills a lot. I forgot the name. 7 is somebody who has a cult, and she had that influence on people. So I would define it as 7. She had like 7 traits of narcissism, where she knew what she was doing. She played on people's emotions. She knew how to play people to get what she needs. She was actually very, very good at getting money from people, and going through life without working almost at all. Only for the last decade of her life she worked, but before that she barely worked. And she always managed to get people give her money or support her in some way. So she was very manipulative, and she really knew how to use people's emotions or talk to people in a way to get what she wanted, or convince them to believe her. And what I understood later from my extended family, when I asked them why you didn't interfere, they said we were scared of her. So I guess she can be endearing but also frightening. So yeah, it also answers that shallow charisma that can be in sporadic party events and stuff. Very well liked, and so that's what she was. It's narcissism in a very high degree. And so they're not crazy, just the moral compass is not okay. It's not built well, and they use people to get what they want. Actually, that's the entire relationship between me and my mother. She used me to bring her money. It got to a point that she wanted me to sell kidneys. She tried to sell me to prostitution. It was all about using me to get what she wanted. I was nothing to her beyond that. And the proof of that was when I turned 20 and I was sick and bedbound and I couldn't support her anymore financially for a few months. She disconnected from me because I was just a dollar bill to her. And that's it. So that's what I wanted to share. And I don't know about you, but for me, it really boggled my mind. I really needed to know what she was. And that's why I'm sharing with you, because just so you know also that it's common. Like, it can happen to other people who are abused, the same pattern of that person managing to convince people outside that he's okay and be very well. Like, actually, when my mom died, she died when she was 48. So many people came to her funeral and Shiva, because I'm Jewish, so there's a Shiva where you sit for 7 days in the house and mourn, and people come to visit. So many people came to visit and talked well about her. And I was shocked because I knew a monster and they were describing a saint. And I was like, I remember I decided not to talk about my experience with her, because I said, this is her death and I will not tarnish their positive memory of her, because with them, she didn't hurt them. So I, in a way, respected her or respected their memory of her, and I just kept it to myself. And it wasn't easy, because I was actually severely judged by other people, because she did a wonderful job saying that I was the abuser of her. I was her abuser. And so not only was justice not done, it was even like she reversed the roles. It was just very, very difficult. But, we are tested for what we can endure. And it was a very horrible time in my life. When she passed, actually, that was a very, the worst thing, because not only did the door shut on our relationship, but it shut in such a horrible, terrible way. And she even hurt me in her death. She denounced me as her daughter, and she gave all her money to some charity that for children who abused their parents, and it was just beyond. It really felt injustice. At that time in my life, I was just feeling, I almost lost it. I almost lost my mind. I felt that there is no justice in this world. I really had a hard time. But it also passed. Everything passes eventually. And I did everything in order not to tarnish myself in a way. Because I said, I will respect even her death and people's memory of her, and I will not hurt her in that way. And I just absorbed her hurt, but in a way I didn't hurt back, because I didn't want to have any guilt. She already had me have so much guilt growing up just by being alive. I didn't want to create ones of my own, something that I might regret later or something. So I did everything to keep myself as clean as possible under the circumstances. Even people told me, and the distant family, go after the money, going to court and take that money, you deserve that money. And I said no. She denounced me as her daughter. She obviously didn't want me to have that money. as she went for great effort to do so. And so I let that money go. And actually, now being 40, I can tell you that that money could have helped me tremendously, because I don't see how I'm going to buy a house, or I'm really worried about my future and my children's future. But I must trust that I can figure it out on my own, and that's it. And I let go of it. So I shared that with you, and I hope that was helpful for you in some way. Good luck.